It was a cold morning in a small town where the leaves were starting to change colors. The sky was gray and a little chilly wind blew softly through the streets. Marcus Reynolds, a man who had been driving a yellow school bus for many years, was getting ready for his day. Marcus was a quiet and kind person. People in the town knew him as the friendly bus driver who always greeted the children with a smile. He took his job seriously because he cared about the children on his bus. Every morning he made sure they were safe and comfortable as they traveled to school. That day, Marcus woke up early as usual. He ate his breakfast quietly and thought about the long day ahead. He liked mornings like this, calm and peaceful. After checking his bus, he started his engine and began his route. The bus was old but reliable. The seats were worn but clean. The bright yellow color made the bus easy to see on the streets. As Marcus drove slowly through the neighborhood, he stopped at each corner to pick up children waiting for their ride to school. One by one, the children climbed onto the bus. They were busy chatting with their friends, talking about their homework, or excited about their lunchboxes. Some kids told Marcus about their pets or what they planned to do after school. Marcus enjoyed these little talks. It made his job feel important and special. The kids loved him because he was patient and kind, always ready to listen. At the corner of Pine and Willow, there was a small bus stop where many children waited. Marcus pulled over, ready to pick up Emily, a quiet little girl who was always a little shy. Emily was 7 years old and smaller than most kids her age. She had soft, honey-colored hair that always looked a bit messy, like she had just woken up. Her pink backpack looked heavy, almost bigger than her little shoulders could carry. Emily wasn't a loud or talkative child. Instead, she liked to sit quietly and watch the world around her. Usually, Emily arrived at the bus stop on time, standing patiently in line with the other children. But that morning, when Marcus reached the corner of Pine and Willow, Emily wasn't there. The bus stopped for a moment and Marcus looked down the street. He thought maybe she was late, or maybe her parents were walking her to the stop. So, he waited for a few seconds before opening the door to let the other kids off the bus. Just as Marcus began to pull away, he suddenly saw something that made him freeze. Emily was running toward the bus. Her face was wet with tears, and her eyes were wide with fear. She looked like she was scared of something very serious. She was running fast, almost stumbling over her own feet. Marcus quickly stopped the bus and opened the door wide. He didn't want her to miss the ride to school. He watched as Emily climbed onto the bus, her breath coming in quick gasps. She looked at Marcus, but she didn't smile like she usually did. Instead, her face was pale, and tears were still running down her cheeks. Marcus asked softly, "Emily, what's wrong?" But Emily didn't answer right away. She looked like she was trying to find the right words. The bus was quiet now. The other children sensed that something was wrong. They stopped talking and looked at Emily, worried. Finally, with a trembling voice, Emily whispered 4 words that made Marcus's heart stop. "Mommy won't wake up." Hearing those words, Marcus felt a cold wave of fear rush through him. The bus driver's calm morning suddenly changed into a moment of serious worry. The cheerful school bus that was once full of happy chatter became very quiet. Marcus quickly shut off the bus engine and took a deep breath to stay calm. He wanted to help Emily and make sure she was safe. He picked up the radio and called his dispatcher to explain the situation. The dispatcher told him to hold the bus where it was, and that help was on the way. Marcus then helped Emily find a seat on the bus and gave her his jacket to keep her warm. The little girl held the jacket tightly, still sniffling and trying to catch her breath. The other children looked at her with wide eyes. They had never seen Emily so scared before. Marcus asked her gently, "Where do you live, Emily?" She pointed down Pine Street with a shaky finger. Marcus knew that they had to do something fast. Emily needed help, and so did her mother. He decided to ask a nearby parent who had just come out to see their own child off to stay with the other kids on the bus. Marcus couldn't just wait. He needed to go with Emily to her home to see what was going on. Emily took his hand tightly. Even though she was scared, she trusted Marcus. Together they walked quickly down the street toward her little blue house. Marcus tried to keep calm, but inside, his heart was beating very fast. He knew that every second counted. As they got closer, Marcus noticed that the front door of the house was open a little bit. The porch light was still on, which meant someone had been there recently. Marcus pushed the door open gently and stepped inside. It was quiet. Too quiet. The kitchen smelled faintly of breakfast, but no one was there. The dishes were still on, the counter untouched. A small TV was playing cartoons softly in the background. Marcus looked down at Emily, who was holding his hand as if it was her only anchor in the storm. Emily led Marcus down the hallway to her mother's bedroom. "She's still in bed," Emily said softly. Marcus walked into the room and saw Tara, Emily's mother, lying under the covers. She looked very pale and still. Marcus called her name softly at first, then louder. But there was no response. He gently shook her shoulder. Tara didn't move or open her eyes. Marcus immediately checked if she was breathing. His heart pounded harder when he felt she was alive but unconscious. He didn't waste a second. Marcus called 911 again to explain that Tara was unconscious and needed an ambulance right away. While they waited for help, Marcus stayed with Emily. He spoke quietly to her, trying to keep her calm. The little girl was scared, but she clung to Marcus like he was her lifeline. They waited together in the quiet house until they heard the sirens of the ambulance coming closer. The paramedics rushed in and quickly examined Tara. They worked fast, carefully placing her on a stretcher and getting her ready for the hospital. One of the paramedics looked at Marcus and said, "You were right here just in time. If you hadn't come, it could have been much worse." Marcus felt a wave of relief wash over him. He was glad that Emily had spoken up and that he had listened. The bus driver, who had spent years quietly driving kids to school, had just helped save a life that day. After the bus driver, Marcus, had stopped the bus and helped the little girl Emily inside, a heavy silence fell over the vehicle. Normally, the bus was full of lively chatter, jokes, and laughter as children got ready for school. But this morning, everything changed. The moment Emily stepped onto the bus, running and crying, the mood shifted. Her face was red from crying, her small hands trembling as she gripped the edge of the seat. Her whole body looked scared and fragile, like a tiny bird lost in a big forest. Marcus, the kind and patient man who had driven this bus for years, quickly realized something serious was happening. He could see the worry deep inside Emily's eyes, and he knew he had to help her. He sat down next to her gently and spoke in a calm voice, trying to make her feel safe. "Emily, can you tell me what's wrong?" he asked softly. Emily hesitated. Her lips trembled and tears still spilled down her cheeks. She took a shaky breath and then whispered words that were so quiet Marcus almost didn't hear them at first. "Mommy won't wake up." The four simple words filled the bus with sudden fear and confusion. The other children stopped their chatter and turned their heads, their eyes wide and silent. They could feel the change in the air, even if they didn't understand everything. Marcus's heart skipped a beat. He knew that if Emily's mother wasn't waking up, something very dangerous might have happened. He carefully wrapped his jacket around Emily's small shoulders, hoping it would give her some comfort. Emily clutched the jacket tightly like it was a shield against the scary world around her. Marcus leaned closer to Emily and asked again, "Where does your mommy live? Can you tell me where to find her?" Emily looked at him with wide, scared eyes and pointed toward the end of Pine Street. Marcus nodded, his mind racing. He knew he had to act fast, but he also had to keep calm to help Emily and the other children. On the bus, he grabbed the radio and called the dispatcher. "This is Marcus Reynolds, bus number 17. I have a child on board who says her mother is not waking up, requesting emergency assistance at Pine Street, holding the bus until help arrives." His voice was steady, but inside he felt the pressure building. The dispatcher's voice came back through the radio, calm and reassuring. "Help is on the way, Marcus. Stay with the child and keep the other children calm." Marcus looked around the bus. The other kids were watching quietly, their faces full of concern, but also curiosity. Some were still too young to understand, but they knew something was wrong. Marcus took a deep breath and tried to focus. He didn't want the children to panic. He knew that keeping them calm was important. He turned to Emily again and smiled gently, hoping to give her a little courage. "We're going to help your mommy, Emily. You did the right thing telling me." Emily nodded but didn't say anything. She was still scared, but Marcus could tell she felt safer with him there. At that moment, a woman walked over to the bus stop, holding the hand of her own child. She was a neighbor, someone who knew Marcus and trusted him. Marcus called out, "Could you please stay with the children for a moment? I need to walk Emily home." The woman nodded quickly, understanding the seriousness of the situation. She climbed aboard the bus and began talking quietly to the children, helping to keep their minds off the fear. Marcus took Emily's hand gently and stepped off the bus. The little girl squeezed his hand tightly as they walked together down the quiet street. The morning air was crisp, and the leaves crunched softly under their feet. Emily's small footsteps hurried beside Marcus's steady ones. She was trying to be brave, but every now and then she would glance up at Marcus with big eyes, looking for reassurance. Marcus said little, but his mind was working fast. He thought about all the emergencies he had heard about on the news, all the times someone needed help but no one knew what to do. Now, here he was, the only adult Emily trusted, and he had to get it right. As they walked, Marcus tried to ask Emily questions gently. "When did you see your mommy last? Was she feeling okay?" Emily's voice was tiny and scared as she answered, "She was in bed when I woke up. I called her, but she didn't move." Marcus nodded, feeling a deeper urgency. He knew that sometimes people who are very sick can't respond. Maybe Tara, Emily's mother, was hurt or very sick. They had to find her and get help quickly. The small houses along the street were peaceful, bathed in the soft light of the morning. But for Marcus and Emily, the neighborhood felt different, heavy with worry and fear. When they reached Emily's house, Marcus noticed the porch light was still on, and the front door was open just a crack. It was unusual for a house to be left like that so early in the morning. Marcus pushed the door gently and stepped inside. The house was silent except for the faint sound of a television playing cartoons. The kitchen smelled like breakfast, but nothing had been touched. There was a stillness in the air that made Marcus's heart beat faster. Emily led Marcus down a narrow hallway to her mother's bedroom. She opened the door softly and pointed at the bed. "She's still there," Emily whispered. Marcus stepped inside and saw Tara lying motionless under the blankets. The pale light coming through the blinds fell gently on her face. Marcus called her name softly. "Tara, are you okay?" But there was no response. He shook her shoulder gently. Tara didn't wake up. Marcus's training from years of driving the bus and caring for children kicked in. He checked her breathing and found it faint but steady. Tara was alive but unconscious, and she needed help fast. Without wasting a moment, Marcus grabbed his phone and called 911 again. "My name is Marcus Reynolds. I'm at 47 Pine Street. There's a woman unconscious in her bedroom. She's breathing but won't wake up. Please send help immediately." While waiting for the ambulance, Marcus sat next to Emily, holding her hand and speaking softly to keep her calm. Emily's eyes were filled with tears, but Marcus tried to give her hope. "Your mommy will be okay. The ambulance is coming soon." After what felt like a long time, the sound of sirens filled the quiet neighborhood. The paramedics arrived quickly and rushed into the house. Marcus stepped back and watched as they carefully checked Tara's condition. They placed her on a stretcher and prepared to take her to the hospital. One of the paramedics looked at Marcus and said quietly, "You got here just in time. If you had waited, things could have been much worse." Marcus felt a wave of relief wash over him. He had done what he needed to do. He had listened to a scared little girl, and because of that, a life might be saved. After the ambulance rushed Tara to the hospital, Marcus found himself standing on the quiet street outside Emily's small blue house. The morning sun was climbing higher, casting soft shadows across the neighborhood. The worry inside Marcus hadn't gone away. He watched as the paramedics closed the ambulance doors and drove off, their sirens fading into the distance. Now all that was left was Emily, sitting on the porch steps, her little body trembling with exhaustion and fear. Marcus crouched down to Emily's level and looked into her big, tear-filled eyes. She tried to be brave, but the fear was still there. "Emily," he said gently, "I'm going to take you somewhere safe, okay? Your mommy is getting help right now, and everything is going to be okay." Emily nodded quietly, but Marcus could see the weight of the moment pressing down on her small shoulders. He knew that Emily couldn't stay alone. Her mother was in the hospital, and Emily had nowhere to go. Marcus thought quickly and decided he would take care of her until her family could come. He called the dispatcher again and told them what had happened and that Emily needed a safe place. They arranged for someone from social services to meet Marcus at the bus station later that day. For now, Marcus took Emily back to the bus. The other children were waiting inside, their faces full of questions. Marcus explained gently to the children that Emily's mommy was sick but would get help, and Emily was going to be safe with him until everything was better. The children nodded solemnly, understanding more than Marcus thought they would. As the bus drove slowly toward the school, Marcus kept a close eye on Emily. She sat quietly, clutching his jacket, staring out the window at the passing trees and houses. Marcus knew that Emily's mind must have been racing with questions and fears. He wanted to find the right words to comfort her, but sometimes words weren't enough. At school, Marcus found the nurse and explained the situation. The nurse was kind and immediately went to make a phone call to Emily's relatives. Meanwhile, Marcus stayed with Emily, sitting beside her during the quiet morning classes. Emily was too scared to eat or play. She just sat still, holding Marcus's hand. Hours passed slowly. Marcus watched as teachers whispered and glanced at Emily with concern. Everyone in the school was touched by the little girl's courage and sadness. Marcus made sure Emily felt safe, gently reminding her that she was not alone. Finally, a woman arrived at the school. Emily's aunt, a kind woman who had traveled from a nearby town after hearing about the emergency. She hugged Emily, tightly, tears in her eyes. Emily's shoulders relaxed just a little as she felt the warmth of family again. Marcus felt a mix of relief and sadness. He had done everything he could to help, but he knew the road ahead would not be easy for Emily or her family. He promised to check in on Emily and her mother as soon as he could. At the hospital, doctors were working hard to help Tara. They found that she had suffered a serious medical condition overnight. It was something unexpected and dangerous, but thanks to Marcus's quick actions and Emily's bravery, Tara's life was saved. The news spread quietly through the town, and Marcus's kindness became a story people told with pride. The bus driver who had stopped to listen and act had made a difference that day. As days turned to weeks, Emily began to smile a little more. She went back to school and slowly started to feel like a child again. Marcus watched from the bus stop, happy to see her playing with friends once more. Though life had thrown a difficult challenge at Emily and her family, the courage of a little girl and the kindness of a bus driver showed how even in scary times, hope and care could shine through. Days passed after Tara's hospitalization, and life in the small town slowly started to return to its usual rhythm. But for Emily, things were still very different. The little girl had been through so much in just a short time. The fear and confusion of that frightening morning lingered in her mind, even as she tried to smile and play again. She still held tightly to the memory of Marcus, the kind bus driver who had stopped everything to help her and her mother. Marcus, too, was changed by what had happened. Though he continued his work as a bus driver, greeting children each morning and making sure they got to school safely, there was now a deeper feeling inside him. It was a quiet sense of pride and responsibility. He realized how important it was to listen carefully and act quickly when it mattered most. The event had opened his eyes to the power of kindness and courage in everyday life. Emily's aunt, who had come to care for her after Tara was taken to the hospital, was doing her best to help the little girl feel safe again. She was a warm and gentle woman who understood how much Emily needed love and patience. The aunt made sure Emily had everything she needed: her favorite toys, warm clothes, and plenty of quiet time. But she also knew that Emily needed to feel part of a community, to have friends and go back to school. So one bright morning, Emily returned to the school she had missed. She was nervous but determined. As she stepped onto the school grounds, she saw Marcus waiting by the bus stop, his friendly smile welcoming her like a safe harbor. Emily's small face lit up with a shy smile as she waved to him. At school, Emily found it hard to focus at first. The classroom seemed so big and noisy. The voices of children laughing and talking were a little overwhelming. But the teachers and students were kind. They welcomed Emily back with open arms. They knew what she had been through, and everyone wanted to help her feel normal again. Marcus made sure to check on Emily every day. He greeted her each morning with a smile and helped her find a seat on the bus. Emily slowly began to open up, telling Marcus little stories about her day and the things she liked to do. Marcus listened carefully, happy to see the sparkle returning to her eyes. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Tara was making progress. The doctors had worked hard to help her recover. Her condition was serious, but she was strong and determined to get better. Each day, Tara's health improved a little. She was surrounded by caring nurses and doctors who treated her with kindness. Tara's thoughts were always with Emily. Even from the hospital bed, she worried about her daughter and wished she could be there to comfort her. The thought of Marcus helping Emily brought her relief. She was grateful to the bus driver who had stepped in when she couldn't. One day, Tara was finally well enough to leave the hospital and return home. The news brought joy to the whole family. Emily was especially happy. She had waited patiently, dreaming of the day her mommy would come back. When Tara arrived at the house, Marcus was there too. He wanted to be sure that everything was okay. Emily ran to her mother's arms, crying tears of happiness. Tara held Emily tightly, whispering words of love and thanks. The community, too, was moved by the story. People talked about how a small act of kindness had changed a life. Marcus had not just been a bus driver that day. He had been a hero, a guardian, and a friend. But life wasn't back to normal just yet. Tara needed time to heal, and Emily needed time to feel safe again. The family had to learn how to live through the fear they had faced and find new strength in each other. Marcus kept visiting Emily and Tara, checking in on them and offering help whenever he could. He was more than a bus driver now. He was part of their family's story, a symbol of hope in a difficult time. Emily, too, grew stronger every day. With the love of her mother, the care of her aunt, the support of her teachers and friends, and the kindness of Marcus, she found a new sense of courage inside herself. Though the road ahead was still long, Emily's story showed that even when life is hard and scary, kindness and courage can help heal wounds and bring light back into the darkest moments. Time passed, and the small town where Emily lived began to heal alongside her family. The fear and worry that once filled the air slowly gave way to hope and joy. Emily's mother, Tara, continued to recover from her illness, growing stronger each day. Though her journey was not easy, Tara faced it with determination and the love of her daughter, who never left her side. Emily had grown in many ways, too. She had become braver and more confident, not because the scary things stopped happening, but because she learned she could face them with the support of those who cared for her. The kindness of Marcus, the bus driver, had changed her life. He was no longer just the man who drove the bus each day. He was a hero in Emily's eyes, a symbol of safety and kindness. Marcus felt a deep sense of happiness, knowing he had made such a difference. His simple act of stopping the bus to help Emily and her mother had changed their lives forever. It also changed him. He realized that every day there was a chance to help someone, to listen, and to act with kindness. That realization made his work more meaningful. At school, Emily's story inspired other children and adults alike. Teachers spoke about bravery and kindness in their classes, using Emily's experience as an example. Children learned how important it was to speak up when something was wrong and how powerful it could be to help others. The community became stronger, united by the story of a little girl who ran to a bus driver and said just 4 words that saved a life. Emily's aunt continued to care for her and Tara, helping them rebuild their lives. She organized small gatherings, where neighbors and friends came together to support the family. These gatherings became moments of joy and comfort, reminding everyone that no one has to face hard times alone. Tara's health improved steadily. With the care of doctors, the love of her family, and the support of friends, she returned to her daily life. She never forgot the moment when Emily ran crying to Marcus and the bus stopped. That moment was the turning point, the moment that saved her life and brought hope to her family. Emily and Tara often visited Marcus, bringing cookies or drawing pictures to show their thanks. Marcus kept the drawings on the dashboard of his bus, smiling every time he looked at them. They were reminders of how one small act of kindness could ripple out to touch many lives. Over time, Emily became a symbol of hope in the town. Her bravery and the kindness of Marcus showed everyone that even in the darkest moments, there was light to be found. People remembered the day Emily ran to the bus and said those 4 words, simple but full of meaning. Mommy won't wake up. The story of Emily, Tara, and Marcus became a lesson in the power of listening, caring, and acting quickly. It was a reminder that heroes come in many forms, not always wearing capes, but sometimes behind the wheel of a school bus, ready to stop and help when it matters most. Life moved forward, and Emily's family healed. The fear they once knew became a memory, replaced by gratitude and love. And through it all, the kindness of a stranger, the bus driver named Marcus, remained, a beacon of hope and strength, showing that sometimes the smallest actions can save the biggest lives.